Hi, my name is Shahrul Hisham bin Aksan.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Haziq bin Muad.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Aikal. Today we're going to talk about perception. Perception is the process of interpreting and understanding information from the world around us through our sense. For example, through our eyes, taste, touch, and hear. For examples, the first image shows two animals, a gorilla and a lioness, facing each other, which also form the shape of a tree. It demonstrates the gestalt principle of how we can see both separate parts of a whole image at the same time. For the second image, can you guys tell what is it? The use of simple illustration can influence our perception about certain things. For example, image 2 shows a two faces looking at each other, which also created a shape of a vase in the middle. It demonstrates how we can see either the face or the vase, but not both at the same time. The law of perception. From the Gestalt theory, it describes how the human eye perceives visual elements. The law of perception involves understanding how people perceive and interpret visual information. In psychology, it includes principles like proximity, similarity, closure, and many more. The law of continuity is a Gestalt principle that explains how we perceive smooth, flowing lines and shape. It means that when we see intersecting lines or curves, our eyes naturally follow the most continuous path connecting elements into a coherent whole. For example, a series of dots arranged in a curve is seen as a continuous line, not a separate point. This shows how our brain interprets with certain visuals and influence our perceptions. This principle also has been used in advertising. For examples, image 2 shows a bottle of Coca-Cola. The designers has used this design principle in advertising to guide the viewer's eyes smoothly and make the complex visual easier to understand. All of the bottles are arranged to form a line and to create a smile. This principle also has been used in photography. For example, image 3 shows how photographers have implemented the law of continuity by directing the viewer's eye towards the subject.
The law of closure. It is one of the Gestalt principles, a group of visual perspection principles developed by German psychology in the early 20th century. Gestalt is a German word that means shape or form. It believes that our minds tends to perceive objects as a whole, even if they are incomplete or partially hidden. This concept has since been applied to various fields including design. Law of similarity. In the context of interpersonal communication, the similarity principle helps individuals make sense of verbal and non-verbal cues. Here are some ways this principle manifests: grouping information, non-verbal cues, social categorization, and message framing. Grouping information. When people communicate, they often present information in a structured way, using similarity to create coherence. For example, a speaker might use similar phrasing or tone when discussing related points, helping the listener to connect this idea. Non-verbal cues. Similarity in body language, gesture, or facial expression can convey a consistent message. For instance, nodding and smiling might be grouped together as sign of agreement or approval. Social categorization. People tend to perceive and categorize others based on shared characteristics in group setting. Individuals who dress similar or have similar background may be seen as part of the same subgroup. Lastly, message framing. Similarity in the language and style can enhance the clarity and impact of a message. Advertisers and communicators often use repetition and consistent themes to reinforce their message. The law of common region. The principle of grouping is a set principle in psychology. The principle of common region says that items within a boundary are perceived as a group and assumed to share some common characteristic or functionality. Principle exists because the mind has an innate disposition to perceive patterns in the stimulus based on certain rules. These principles are organized into 5 categories: proximity, similarity, continuity, closure, and connectedness. The law of proximity. The law of proximity describes how the human eye perceives connection between visual elements. Elements that are close to each other are perceived to be related when compared with elements that are separate from each other. The law of proximity allows us to use white space, for example, to build perceived relationship between different elements. The law of pregnance suggests that when we see complex or unclear images, our brains try to interpret them in the simplest and most organized way. We tend to see well-defined shapes and patterns instead of chaotic ones. This means we break down complicated visual into basic geometric shape, seeking order and similarity to make sense of what we see easily and naturally.
Have you ever wondered why two people can look at the same thing and see something completely different? That is fascinating world of perception. Perception is how we interpret the world around us, and it's influenced by a variety of factors. So, let's explore some of these key factors. First, let's talk about the person doing the perceiving. Our past experiences shape how we see things. For example, if you had a bad experience with dogs, you might be afraid of them. Our motivations and goals also play a role. When you're hungry, food looks more appealing. And let's not forget about our emotion. When we are happy, the world seems brighter. But watch out for the cognitive biases. These are mental shortcuts that can trick us into seeing things certain way. So, second factor. Now, let's look at what being perceived. The object or person itself matters. Bright, shiny things grab our attention, while dull ones might be overlooked. New and existing things are more interesting than familiar ones. And believe or not, even someone's social status can influence how we perceive them.
Factors that related to the situation. Situation that influence perception, shaping how stimuli are perceived. For instance, social context. Presence of others and social norms affect our perception. For examples, trying new food with friends. If one of the friends who is unsure or dislike the food, his perception can be swayed and changed, influenced by the group thought and perception. Secondly, environmental condition. Conditions like lighting, noise level, and temperature influence perception. For example, an object may look different because of the lighting. The second image shows a cylinder with a different view and different lighting. From the side, we can see the lighting to portray a circle. On the other side, we can see the lighting to perceive a square. This shows how lighting and perspective can change our perceptions. Perception varies with the amount of time available to process information. For example, an individual often processing information differently under time pressure than when they have plenty of time to make decisions.
So, for the conclusion, how we see the world is not about our eyes and our ears. is about how our brain process what we experience. Our past, the people we meet, and even where we live shape how we perceive things. That is why it is important to understand that everyone sees things a little differently. When we realize this, we can communicate better and get along with each other more easily. So that's it for me. So thank you so much. I will see you in the next video.